Hello everyone, this is Corey Mitchell with TradeThatSwing.com, and this is your swing trading stock market outlook for the week of November 6th. I've been a broken record since August. It's been the same outlook every week, basically staying out of stocks. This is the first week we have a change in that outlook, so that's kind of exciting. I'm looking forward to potentially taking some trades this week if we see some setups. All courses are on sale as well this week through the end of through the end of the month. So you can use Black Friday 23, get 20% off all courses. You can see them along the side of the course or by clicking on the Trading Courses button. So let's get to the stock market outlook. Each week, go through the same process. How major indices are performing, looking at the price action, we look at market health indicators, recent watch list and trade performance, and sector performance. That lets me know how aggressive I'm going to be in deploying capital. So heading into the week of November 6th, market conditions still a little mixed, but have improved a lot. Some indicators turning favorable, and that means I'm going to start deploying some capital this week. Again, if I see some actual trades that I like and that actually trigger me into a trade. So we'll talk a bit about that. The current watch list, there's the best swing trading stocks list for November, recently updated. This is just a list of stocks that have been very strong recently or very weak. So there's two lists. We'd be focusing more now. Prior, we were looking at stocks that, since it was weak conditions, you'd favor the short list and going short in the weak stocks. Now you'd want to flip, since we've turned more positive, and you'd be looking at the very strong stocks to potentially go long in. The current stock watch list, it's a little bit different. It looks for just specific setups that I like to trade, and then I make a list of those. That hasn't been updated since August because conditions haven't been good, so there's been no reason for me to make a... I primarily do that list for long trades, so there's no reason for me to have been updating it since I wasn't taking trades anyway. So I will be updating that this weekend or possibly Monday, so watch for that, this current stock watch list. And then if you're interested, you can always just, for looking for some other trade ideas, best performing ETFs and best performing stocks. And then these are longer term type lists. Also, we're starting to make a turn potentially to the upside. So this could also be a time, if you're a longer term investor, to start picking up some of those stocks that are at good values. And, they've come down, some of them have come down 10-20% in the last month or two. So it might be a good time to pick up some of those. So you can look at those lists as well. You're watching the summary video right now. So let's look at the price action. I look at four different indicators or four different indices to see how different segments of the market are performing. We have the tech stocks, the large cap US companies, the NYSE composite covers a wide array of industries and different types of stocks, and then the Russell 2000 is small companies. Then we also have the Canadian index and Bitcoin. So let's just run through the price action on these. Recent downtrend or pullback starting from August. You can see this is the NASDAQ up here, and we can see this series of lower highs. So here's the first high. The next major swing high is lower. The next major swing high is lower. These lows also dropping. The most recent one well below these prior lows. Same thing on the NYSE composite. Lower lows, and you can see the highs stepping lower. Same thing with the S&P 500, same thing with the Russell 2000. All moving the same, that stepping lower fashion. So right now, we're at a point where that could change. So the downtrend, lower swing lows, lower swing highs. If we get a rally above this high on the NASDAQ, this high on the NYSE, they're all from mid-October. This high on the Russell 2000 and this high on the NYSE composite. If we move above that, that'll be the first time we get a major change in behavior, because now we are no longer making lower highs. We would have just made a higher high. That's uptrending behavior. It doesn't mean we're in a confirmed uptrend yet. An uptrend is higher swing highs, higher swing lows, but it is the first step in that process which should turn us more bullish. And so that's why I'm willing to start deploying some capital. So that's the price action. Canadian index, it was ranging, and you can see it's made a higher swing high here. So that's a good sign. It's already started to make that shift, but it was a little weaker to begin with. It's hasn't really gone anywhere all year, whereas these other indices, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100, did make a lot of upward progress early in the year, and they've just given a little bit of it back. The TSX didn't make much progress all year. Bitcoin had been in this range. We had the big breakout recently, and it is holding steady up there, so it is in a bullish state overall uptrend throughout the year. This is the market health indicators that I look at. They show us the underlying strength or weakness of the market, not necessarily based on price action itself. This first indicator is how many stocks are above their 50-day moving average. A 50-day moving average is just a very crude measure of whether a stock is in a short-term uptrend or downtrend. If it's above, it's in a short-term uptrend. So this is showing the percentage of stocks that are above their 50-day moving average. The red number is the S&P 500 stocks, and the bluish turquoise number is all U.S. stocks. So you can see we're right on the cusp of that 50%. 50% is kind of my cutoff mark. If we're above that 50% level, it means at least half of stocks are in short-term uptrends. We are just below that, but right on the cusp. So I've given that kind of a neutral face. But you can see we're definitely moving in the right direction. If we have one more up day or even a little pullback and then move up, will probably eclipse the 50% pretty quick. It's still not ideal. More stocks above their 50-day moving average is better than just the bare minimum, but this could move up to 50-60% pretty quick. So still neutral at the moment. This is the only one that is not a happy face at the moment. Volume, not really important. It was important we had a follow-through day. This is another thing that I look for. It's a strong upside move with increasing volume. So it didn't actually occur on the S&P 500, but we did get one on the NASDAQ. We've had a few days of really strong up movement in the S&P 500, but this big day here on Thursday, it was just minutely lower volume. So it didn't quite qualify as a follow-through day as I interpret it, but we did get one on the NASDAQ where we had a big upside move. If I recall, I think it was about 1.7% to the upside for the index, and we had increasing volume. So we did get a follow-through day on one of the major indices. That indicates often a short-term bottom is in place, and that we're likely to head higher for the next little while. That doesn't mean we won't get, maybe a little pullback here or something, but in general terms, these often occur near bottoms. The next indicator we look at is movement overall of the S&P 500. Daily movement, this is just showing daily movement in percentage for the S&P 500. And when we do not have large daily drops, then that's more indicative of uptrending behavior. So this one actually has stayed positive this entire time through this drop. And as I've talked about each week, we could get a big drop at any time, but as long as we don't, it indicates that it's more likely just a minor pullback and not a major bear market. And if we start to see a little more upside, that's going to be confirmed. So this was indicating the whole time, this is just a minor pullback, wait it out, probably won't be too long, because during big bear markets, it's not on the chart anymore, but if you look at 2022, you have huge drops. Every few days you have like a 2% drop or more, whereas we haven't had a 2% drop since going back to March. It's been a lot less volatile, and less volatile is indicative of uptrending behavior. The advanced decline line is the number of advancing stocks minus declining stocks as a cumulative number. I've put this as a smiley face too because we do have a bullish divergence on this. You can see the S&P hasn't quite cleared above its October high. Actually, none of the major indices have, but this advanced decline line has. It climbed above these October highs, so that indicates that the indices likely will as well, which then says from a price action perspective, we will potentially get that uptrending behavior we were talking about, because we do want to see the price move above this high, the one from mid-October, and this indicator is saying that will likely happen. It has a very high success rate, and we're very close, so it wouldn't take too much for the price to get back to this high, but very high success rate of that actually happening. The stronger this moves above, going back to a bit of price action, the stronger this moves above this high, the better. If it just pops above and then starts dropping, that's obviously not as good as if we rally all the way up to here and then have a little pullback. So we'd like to see always as much momentum as possible. And then finally, this indicator has not been in play for a long time, but if the follow-through day wasn't good enough for you, we also have a Lowry upside day. And an upside day is when 90% of the volume occurs in stocks that move to the upside on that day. It is a rare signal. It occurs often near market bottoms and is a great sign of a short-term rally. And you can look for a 90% day, or two back-to-back 80% days are equivalent. So on Thursday and Friday of last week, we had back-to-back 80% upside days. That means 80% of the volume that occurred in all stocks occurred in stocks moving to the upside. That is a very strong bullish signal that showed money was just flooding in, and that's the kind of volume and enthusiasm that turns trends around. So very good to see that, as well as a follow-through day and all these other indicators turning positive, and the one that isn't is right on the cusp. So these are the ones we all just went through. Let's quickly go through the sectors. I've mostly said to watch these ones that were strong the last week. So that's real estate, consumer cyclicals, financial, technology. I didn't go too much into these because I feel it's just maybe a little bit too much to focus on trying to figure out which ones held up best. And so I'm just going to look at, we had the health indicators turn positive this past week. So these were the stocks that really led to that happening. We can see almost all of them performed well, but the top of this list obviously performed a little bit better. If we go to the last few months, then kind of everything wasn't performing great over the last 3 months. And over the last month, we had some of these more defensive sectors, which a lot of the stocks in them don't move as much usually. So I'm kind of just, for this week, I'm just saying, look at what performed well recently, because that's what's potentially turning this market around. So what am I doing? I'm looking to deploy some capital this week. I've set a tentative figure for myself of about 30 to 50% of capital. Again, if the week gets even better and all those, we get the move to new highs on the indices or new swing highs, the number of stocks above their 50-day moving average continues to increase, maybe I'll favor more of that 50% or maybe a little bit higher. If the week starts out a little sluggish, then maybe I'll only take one or two positions, maybe only 20, 30% of my capital deployed, again, depending on if I find actual setups. We haven't confirmed the uptrend yet. That's another kind of thing to keep in the back of our mind. Even if we make a new swing high, on the S&P 500, we move above this swing high, this level here, we keep moving up. That's still not a confirmed uptrend yet. We only have one higher swing high. We would need a pullback, see how that performs, and then start moving up again off of that. So a higher swing low. So that here we were dropping, and then you'd want to be able to draw a trend line higher, chasing rising prices. So that's still a little bit why, I'm not 100% enthusiastic and willing to just dump all my money into stocks at the moment. We still don't have confirmation of a beautiful uptrend quite yet, but at least this is positive signals coming in that could happen. And as always, I'm always day trading, and I also do some passive investing. If you're interested in any of those things, you can check out these links to courses. And again, everything's 20% off with Black Friday 23. You can punch in that code at checkout to save 20%. So that's exciting. Also, check out the stock watch list. Will be updated this weekend or on Monday. And yeah, a bit of an exciting time after a couple months of not doing much in terms of buying stocks. It will be nice to potentially get involved again. So have a great week out there, and until next time, happy trading.